Welcome, welcome, welcome to Conversations with Yolanda. I'm so glad to be here with you guys today. This morning, I have a great guest. You guys, it's going to be great. Here on Conversations with Yolanda, we're talking about entrepreneurship, small business ownership, authors, speakers, and she's fitting all of those categories. So we're going to get right into it. Welcome again to Conversations with Yolanda. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am good. Been running around and traveling, but it's all been good. I've been watching you and seeing some great stuff that you're doing. And so I'm so glad you were able to jump on here with me today. And so KP, I'm going to call you KP. You can give me your full name, but I'm going to get you to go ahead and just introduce yourself and tell the audience that'll be listening and watching a little bit about what you do and just what's going on with you right now.
Yeah, so my name is Kiameshea Prewitt, and I am the CEO and founder of Tower Above Financial Solutions. But I have recently started my personal brand, so it's Kiameshea Prewitt. And under that brand, it's really what I want to talk about is I'm a accredited financial counselor through the AFCPE, and I'm also a financial behavioral specialist. And what I'm really passionate about, like God has put a special place in my heart for entrepreneurs, and specifically kingdom entrepreneurs, and just like their their relationship with wealth and how they view wealth, because that's a big part of being in business is how is your relationship with wealth. And so if you've had things happen in the past in your personal finances, it's going to come out. Any financial trauma or anything, it's going to come out in how you run your business.
Absolutely.
And it also just like how you view yourself as a kingdom citizen is going to affect how you do business. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. I just recently wrote a book that's coming out October 10th. So I'm super excited to see it, like how God is moving in my business.
Absolutely. One of the things that you just shared that I want you to talk a little bit more about is kingdom entrepreneurs. When you say kingdom entrepreneurs, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so these are people, I think it goes beyond just saying like I'm a Christian business owner, but it's someone who truly takes their relationship with God seriously, like it's forefront in everything that they do, in their decision making, in their lifestyle. And so therefore they run their business from that perspective as well. At least that's their intentions are to run their business from a biblical point of view. And so and their business is also tied to their, what I like to call their purpose project. Right. And so whether it's the thing that they're doing or their profits are going towards this purpose project that they want to do in the community or to their local church or whatever passion that God has given them. And so that's when I say kingdom entrepreneur, like that's what I mean.
Yes, yes, yes. So I do consider myself a kingdom entrepreneur. And one of my friends made a statement a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't even think about it. She was talking to someone else, and we're getting ready to do a panel in Nashville in a couple of weeks. And she said, my friend, she works to fund her projects. She's in business so she can fund her projects. And it's actually so true. I do a lot of work in the continent of Africa. And if I'm not making money, I can't fund those projects in different parts of the continent. And a lot of times people will say, I'm a faith-based entrepreneur. And I really started watching them to see if what they're saying is really how they're aligning their business. So I'm so glad that you shared that with us. One of the things that I think, and you mentioned it, a lot of entrepreneurs and just people just individuals struggle with finances. And a lot of times it's due to a lot of things that they've dealt with in their past. Kind of talk to me about what are some of the things that you're seeing as you're doing your work with entrepreneurs and individuals struggling with in reference to their financials?
Yeah. So I feel like every time, and I've also done some work with the military as well. And with everyone who I've ever worked with, they always come to me and say, "Well, I wasn't taught this when I was younger," but really, you were taught this when you were younger. You just weren't taught maybe the right ways, or maybe it wasn't an intentional lesson that you were taught, but you were watching and you were looking, and you were grasping different things about money, whether it was an intentional conversation or it wasn't. And so they bleeds into how we handle money. So like basically when we get stuck between a rock and a hard place, we kind of go back to what we're like, well, what did my parents do? Even if it's in the effort of I want to do the opposite of what my parents did, they taught you what not to do. so
Exactly.
so I feel like our childhood and our upbringing is a really big part in how we manage money and how we view money. And then also, if you are a believer, what you think God's perspective of money is also affects how you manage and steward your finances as well. Recently, I spoke on a panel last week here in Dallas, and one of the ladies, she was a very successful business owner, and she said, "How do you overcome financial trauma?" And I was like, "That's a heavy question. You can't just drop that on me and not give me the details."
Exactly. Exactly. That's some
Um,
sessions. That takes sessions.
yeah. So I was like, I said, well, we don't have a lot of time. So just give me a brief of like what happened. And so long story short, she invested a very large amount of money in something, and ended up not being what she thought it was going to be. It was going good at first. And so she kept putting more money towards it, but then she kind of the truth behind it was revealed, and she lost a lot of money, so much so that it changed their family lifestyle. And so she had the demands of her kids because they were expecting certain things. And something that I shared with her, I won't go into everything I shared, but one thing that we have to realize is that we, like, being a believer and just a person, you're going to go through different seasons of wealth. It's not always going to be exactly the same. And we can look at the Bible and see that they had times of famine and they had times of abundance.
Mhm.
And I think it's in Philippians 4, Paul talks about how he has learned to be content with a little and he has learned to be content with a lot. And so I think if we call ourselves kingdom entrepreneurs, we have to learn how to be content with a little and a lot. And that's where, having not just spending money with our emotions, like, oh, this seems like a really good deal, let me just invest in this. Like, really look at the antics, like really look at
Exactly.
all the factors involved, not just, well, I just want to be a part of this. Like, making sure that this is really something that you're supposed to be a part of. And so that makes me think about, we were talking about Ron Shea earlier. Something that she taught me when God was using her to disciple me was not every idea, like not every good idea is a God idea.
Yes.
So it could be a fantastic idea, but that doesn't mean that you need to add yourself to the equation. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, because I've seen that too.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Everything that shines is not gold, and
yes,
everything that looks good is not God. It is so true. And a lot of times it takes discipline to be able to not see something that may be a good thing, but it may not be the
yes,
season for it. And I've been through those seasons where I was sowing into certain things, and then there was a season to come shrink back from it,
mm-hmm.
and really manage what God had given me in certain seasons. There were certain seasons of abundance, and like
Yeah,
you just mentioned, and then there were seasons where there was not as much. And as the word says, being content. And
mm-hmm.
I just learned over the years, because when you're an entrepreneur, you're going to give up some things in order to grow something that you're trying to
Yeah,
grow. And when I've had to downsize in certain areas, I just learned how much I didn't really need, that I just really, really wanted, but I didn't really. And then, so when you get down to the basics, you can say, okay, I can live with little. It may not
mm-hmm.
be my preference, but I
Mm-hmm.
know I can if I'm trying to do something long term. So,
Yeah.
what have you seen with entrepreneurs with that instant are you seeing a lot of instant gratification? They're wanting something to go really, really fast and not being
Yeah.
patient.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good point. So I think when you decide that you want to be an entrepreneur, whether part time or full time, you have to realize that what you see on social media is
Come
not going
on.
to happen tomorrow for you. Like it's not. It's not. It's you don't know what they did in the background. You don't know
Exactly.
how long they've been beating the pavement. You have no idea.
Mhm.
So I think being patient with yourself, that's something that, if I can be transparent, that I'm even learning is that let things happen organically. Because when they happen organically, even in the organic, like seize the opportunity. Like when it comes up, be like, oh, this is my window of opportunity. Let me show up. Not be like, oh, if it's for me, it's for me. Like so that there's a balance. But
Yes.
I think social media has given people a false sense of like what it looks like to be a business owner. I really admire those that I follow on social media that show you the highs, but they also show you the lows because like there's a lot of roller coaster emotions when it comes to being an entrepreneur. But I feel like, yeah, to answer your question, I do see a lot of people not really having like realistic expectations and like giving themselves time. And if something doesn't work the first time, but you know that this is something you're supposed to do, then try again, but tweak something and change it. Like learn from the lessons and not give up. I've heard different coaches say like a lot of people's problem is just that they give up too easily. Like they don't
Yes.
see it through. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit about these social media streets. I'm telling you, if you watch people, and so I've been a entrepreneur for over 20 years. I started part time. I was still working a
Mhm.
full time, running somebody else's company, and then started doing mine part time, and then gradually moved into it full time. But as you see, there are ups and downs. There are times when there is a lot going on. There's times in slow seasons, and
Mhm.
how you manage it is going to depend on how sustainable you're going to be as an entrepreneur. But you're right. If we are only looking at people on social media and determining how successful they are based on what they post, you're gonna be in trouble because we're posting highlights. We're posting the highlights. We're gonna share some of our journeys if you're a coach or you're in a space where you want to be encouraging people and motivating people to be able to do it the long term. You're going to tell the ups and downs, but mostly people are showing highlight reels. And so
Mhm.
as you're watching on social media as an entrepreneur, and you see this in the fun, not every program you should be buying, not every coach you
Right.
should be working with, and determining what's your community and what's best for you. So KP, share a little bit about how you found your community. What was that process like for you? Because you're in a different kind of space of
Mhm.
training than others may be. So tell me about that journey with you finding your community.
Yeah. So, um, wow, it's different ways I can go with this conversation. So, I'll say like with the finance part of what I do, would because I feel like I have different communities for different things,
Yes.
and so it's like for instance with my financial behavioral specialist certification, like I got into that community because I found people that were doing what I wanted to do. I found them on LinkedIn. They're like, "Hey, you've already gone through this program. Can I pick your brain?" Um, and I sent a lot of messages, but only like one person like replied to me, and they ended up being really fruitful because I ended up being on her podcast. That was like the very first podcast I was ever on because we
Hmm.
had a conversation and we really connected. And so I actually, as you can see, I went on and did the program because she was a really big part of me doing the program.
Hmm.
And so I'm still connected to that community. And it also just kind of I think I've had to just understand that like just because like I'm kind of moving on to like the kingdom part of
Hmm.
my community, I've had to understand And I feel like I'm going to step on some people's toes when I say this. So
Go ahead.
But everyone who's anointed, it may not be kingdom.
Yes.
They may be very gifted, but they may not. That doesn't mean that they're kingdom. And I had to get used to that because I was like, I'm so confused, God. How did I get burnt? Like this person is so gifted, and he's like, not everyone who's gifted is mine. Like has chosen me, and so that was a really hard lesson to learn. And then also just knowing like sometimes God will have you like invest in something just because the act of investing is an act of faith. But that doesn't mean that you're going to stay forever. And I had to learn it the hard way. There was a program that God told me, I believe that he gave me clearance to invest in, and I got great yields from it.
Yes.
But then I was supposed to leave after that, but I was like, oh no, I had great yields. I want to stay here. And then it led me to a really bad place. And so it changed there were some good things and some bad things from it. But one of the things that I learned is that just because people are kingdom doesn't mean that they're my people, and that doesn't also mean that they are who they say they are. So I think is the spirit of discernment is
that's good.
That's really, really important. We can't just look at things with our carnal eyes. So again, if we're kingdom, that time that we spend with God each day is crucial. Because truly, I say I'm the CEO publicly, but truly God is the CEO of my company. Like he's the one who's funding the things that I'm doing. He is the one who is opening doors for me. And I'm really just the body that he is, the instrument that he has chosen to play it out. So I think really just discernment and let things happen organically. Like let's not rush things or force things to happen.
Exactly. That is so good. You mentioned something that I think people don't think enough about is the seasons that we go through and the different things that we are a part of, and having the discernment and the wisdom to know when it's time to leave it.
Yeah.
Because when you mention like, and we all have gone through that. I've been a part of some great stuff. And then when Lord's like, it's done, I'm like, wait a minute, I still feel something going on. I just stay for a little while. And every time I've done that, it's not been good. So as I've gotten older, I'm like, when I first feel it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna loose this thing and let it go, because there are seasons where there is an opening of the anointing for you to receive from certain things. And then there's a window that's closed. And sometimes we are not discerning when it's time to be released from that. I've done that in positions that I've been in where I knew it was time for me to leave. God sent me there on an assignment to do a certain thing. When I was done, I stayed in some places longer than I should have. And then I started feeling the heaviness, and it felt weighty. And I knew, like, with that weight that, like, I don't even want to be here. Like, I would hear the Holy Spirit say, that's why I told you to leave, baby. And you didn't leave. Now you can feel why I was trying to have you leave at a certain time. And so I think that discernment for entrepreneurs and for kingdom believers is so key. And I think we don't think about that enough, because when something's going good, we think it's going to last forever.
Yes.
And it doesn't, because it's just a period of time that God is using you in those particular situations for where he's taking you.
Yes.
I think we forget that where we are is really getting us ready for where he's taking us. And it's not the end of where he's taking us. And I think if we can keep that in our mind, we will transition out quicker than we typically do.
Yeah. Just yesterday, I was like, God gave me this epiphany, and I've heard this before, but it's something different when you live life and then you hear you like, oh, okay, I know what that means now.
Exactly.
But God is not just in the destination; He's in the journey too.
Yeah.
Like if more so, He's in the journey in the destination. Like we won't even appreciate the destination if we didn't learn the lessons that we need to learn in the journey.
Exactly.
And so I think sometimes, and I just came out of a season where I was tired. Like entrepreneurship had beat me up. Like I was like, I don't know if I want this
It
anymore.
will beat you up. It will beat you up.
Yes. I was like, I don't know if this is for me anymore. Maybe I need to go get a job because I don't know what's going on, guy. I'm doing what you told me to do, and I'm not seeing the results.
Yeah.
But again, I'm reminded of the word, and I felt like that I was going through a period where God was purifying me from things that I was in the past, and just things from my childhood, because that's another thing they do not tell you. Um,
Yeah.
like different things that are unresolved trauma will show up in how you run your business.
Yes.
Yes. And so
Yes.
I had to deal with like rejection, and I had to deal with the fear of abandonment and all these different things that you face, different things that you face in entrepreneurship that you don't think about all those different things. You just think about, I want to do the thing that I'm really good at. I want to sell the thing. And you don't think about that. You're going to get no's over and over again, that some people may, they're with you when you first begin, and then when they see that you're doing well, they're like, oh, who she thinks she is? Like, and they may not want to be your friend anymore. Like, you don't get warned for all different things. And I feel like, of course, like he shows us a little bit of what we want to see, or what's going to get us to get up and go do the thing. And then later on, he's like, yeah, this also comes with the territory as well. So, but yeah, so I think that this, I think it's really important to just realize that it's not just about what you're stretching towards, but it's also about the healing and the character development that it takes to be who you need to be at your destination.
Exactly. I know you've been in this space. You're gifted in several areas. I know that because I know you.
Yeah.
One of the areas I know that I've just historically seen you in, you would come in and then you were like, let me try this. And then you came back to the financial piece. When did you know that you were gifted in this area and this was something that was actually your purpose?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yeah, that's a really good question, Miss Yolanda. So I would say in 2021, in fall of 2021. So I've been doing this for context for people who this is your first time seeing my face. I've been doing this since 20 I would say 2015, since 2015. I've been in the financial industry even longer than that, but actual like coaching capacity since 2015. But it wasn't until 2021 that God had called me to a fast. And I was thinking, oh, this was after I had my kids, because when you're pregnant, you can fast, but you can't fast from food. So, so this was my first like fast, like it was actually a Daniel fast that I went through, and I thought it was just like God wanted me to draw closer to Him, because we have been going through a lot of transition, because I'm a military spouse, so we just kind of always have to pick up and move or whatever, and so God had called me to a fast, and around this time, my husband was away doing training, so it was just me and the kids. So when I was fasting, it was just me and God, like for hours. And during this fast, he asked me this question, and he said, do you believe that you're worthy of success? And I said, yeah, like, what kind of question is that? Of course I do. And his response was, okay, sleep on it. like go sleep and tell me in the morning. And I was like, okay, because it was towards the end of my time with him. I had been worshiping or whatever, and I was writing in my journal, and that question came up when I was writing in my journal. Do you believe that you're worthy of success? Do you want to be successful? And so I was kind of like, I feel like this is a trick question. So I went to sleep, and I believe, like, I don't remember, but I just feel like he must have spoken to me in my sleep, or in my dream, because when I woke up, I just felt the spirit of repentance on me. And I just ran to my prayer closet and I was crying and I was like, you know what, God, I want to be successful, but I'm scared. I'm scared that I don't trust myself to handle what I've seen that you want me to have.
That's good.
And what's been prophesied over me, like what's been spoken into my life. Like, I don't trust myself with that. And so he started to give me 7 unproductive money mindsets for what was blocking me. At the time, I called them generational curses, like that I need to break through. But as with more learning in my industry, I realized that these were unproductive mindsets. These were things that were hindering me from unlocking, from accessing what God has for me. And so, just to name a few, but one of them was like a poverty mindset. One was I had a fear of money. One was a spirit of mammon. And these things were hindering me. So being the financial professional that I am, I felt like, how do I have this? And I'm called to help people with their finances. Like, this is a conundrum. Like what's going on? But something that I learned is that a lot of times you are your first client. You are your first ministry when it comes to your business. That God will use you as like, see, I've done it in her, I can do it in you. And so in that moment when he was revealing these mindsets to me, he gave me a charge. And he said, I want you to go and raise up kingdom financiers. I had never heard that term before. I heard of a financier before, someone who finances something, but I had never heard of a kingdom financier. And so, so that's the moment that I knew that, like, oh, I'm on a mission. like this is my life. It's basically, and I was working a full-time job at the time. I wasn't in entrepreneurship. I was actually on the rise at the fintech company. I was living my best life. I was like Yolanda. And then God told me,
that's when he does it.
Yes, I was like, oh, I'm finally getting paid for doing what I want to do. And even my certification, I got my first certification in 2020. So I was like, yes, I got it. I'm doing good. And then a year later, and I knew, because I passed my exam for my Accredited Financial Counselor certification. I passed on the first try. And so I was like, God let me pass this on purpose. He's doing something. Not that I wasn't not that I didn't understand the information. I just felt like it was something going on, because I remember back when I took my exam. Of course, that's when it was right before everything had shut down in 2020 for coronavirus. And the first time I went to go, the testing center was closed. And so I was like, okay, God, I worked up my nerves and everything to come take this test. And then it's closed. And so I had to come in. And I knew that was a divine interruption. And I worshiped. I hadn't really worshiped that way in a long time, because I was getting used to being a mother. I was getting used to being a wife. And I hadn't really had that level of intimacy with God in a real long time. And so I remember, like, he brought that back up. And so that's what's the first moment I knew that he's doing something with this. And then a year later, it's when he started revealing those things to me. And so from there, I wrote a prayer journal that's available now on Amazon. I did that shortly after, 2022 is when that prayer journal came out. And then recently I just wrote a book specifically about those mindsets and how it was preventing me from reaching it. And the ironic thing is that I was teaching about these 7 unproductive money mindsets and still not fully healed from it.
Yeah.
Because of pride. I didn't realize that I wasn't healed from it. And so the book that I wrote is literally a perfect. I wrote it. Oh, the camera froze.
I can still hear you. Yeah, keep going. I think you're back.
Oh, there we go. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just saying that I wrote the book. I wrote the book prophetically, I hadn't even came out of, like, fully was delivered from it yet. But God still had me write the book and everything. And so now I can say that, like, I'm healed and I'm healing, just through just more discovery and more just learning more about how these unproductive mindsets may show up in our lives. So yeah.
Yes, that is so good. God will use you even as he's equipping you. And I think we forget that. We don't have to have
Yes.
all of the pieces.
Yeah.
We don't have to have it all together for him to be able to use us, because it's your testimony, it's the things that you're going to share about yourself that's going to help somebody else. And so sometimes he will use us on platforms. And we walk around here with the imposter syndrome and not feeling like we're capable. But God will use you even in mess. God will use you when you don't have everything together. And I think as we remember that he'll use us in any phase and in any of that process that we're going through, he can still use us. So that's powerful, because a lot of people are not operating in their purpose because they are not spending that, especially kingdom. I'm talking about kingdom entrepreneurs. You talked about that intimacy. I think when we get away from that, that's when we stop hearing.
Yeah.
We stop hearing like the next step, the next thing. And so I've been in this study on intimacy, and I'm telling people, when you do that, you will get a revelation like and you know it's not from you. You're gonna know, like,
yes,
it's not from me.
Yeah.
This wasn't even in me. But it's
Yes.
that time we spend, it increases our discernment, and it increases our giftings of what he had, the spaces he has us in. You will have people recognizing you and contacting. I mean, I've had people contact me. I didn't even know people. You don't even know who's looking at you. You don't even know who's watching you until they
Yes.
reach out. And I've had that so many times. If we just stay busy doing what our purpose and what we're called to, we don't have to chase stuff.
Right.
You have to chase and beg to be at tables. When you're operating in your purpose, God will automatically open those doors and have people coming to you. I know you've experienced coming to you that you didn't even realize that they even existed, that they even knew who you were. But we're operating in our purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to speak on, you talked about imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And so God gave me this term that I put in my book. And it's financial fraudulent syndrome. And basically what it is, it's a phenomenon of anytime we feel like we don't trust ourselves to something that's connected to building wealth, whether it's a job position, it's building a business, it's, asking for, like, whatever it is. It's not just for entrepreneurs, it's for anyone. And the crazy thing is, like, you've worked hard for it. It's not like you didn't work hard for it. You're a high achieving, individual. So, but this fear creeps up. And so God gave me this term, financial fraudulent syndrome, or I call it FFS. And, I think it's important to just realize that that's a thing, because sometimes we have imposter syndrome in regards to other things, like maybe speaking on the stage, or maybe but when things that are specifically around money, I feel like it goes back to your belief system of how you view money and what you believe true to be, what you believe true to be about money. And so I think I just wanted to highlight that. I think that's something that like people need to realize.
Exactly. So you talked a little bit about your book.
Yes.
Coming out. I want you to share a little bit about your book that's coming out, The Rightful Owner.
Yes.
Is that the name of it? The Rightful Owner. And then tell me about what's next for you and how do people reach you?
Yeah. So the book is called The Rightful Owner. Seizing, occupying, and assessing the wealth promise. And I feel like when people see the title, you think one thing, but when you get in the book, it's going to be something totally different. It's going to really transform how you view money. But what's really important to me is that this is a tool, this is a guide, it's something that you can read over and over again. You'll see that at the end of each chapter, there's application questions. So you can actually technically use this as like a Bible study tool if you wanted to. I do plan on, like, after the lunch is over in a couple of months, actually starting a book club and kind of walking people through the book.
Yeah, that's
But the book is mostly about reclaiming what we have allowed the enemy to steal from us because due to financial fraudulent syndrome, because we felt like we wasn't worthy enough, because we had an unhealthy relationship with money, because we made a couple of mistakes when we were younger and we were like, I'm never again going to experience that again.
yeah,
Or maybe someone took advantage of us financially and it's got us kind of, in a holding pattern. And
yeah,
so the book is about reclaiming your financial authority to truly understand like your identity in Christ, and that's where legally you are like the territory that God has revealed to you, like that's yours, it's rightfully
yes,
yours.
yeah,
And so at the end of the book, what I want people to gain is, again, their kingdom identity, understanding their financial authority. But I think we always talk about financial freedom, right? And I think when we talk about financial freedom, we think about it from a bank account perspective of how much debt we owe, and how much money we have in the bank, and can I just buy stuff when I want to buy it or whatever. But I feel like there's a deeper level of financial freedom that I want people to experience when they finish reading the book. I want them to truly be empowered to make those leaps of faith when God tells you to invest in something. I want them to feel comfortable saying no to something, realizing that that's part of your authority. It's not just saying yes to everything. It's also knowing when to say no as well, and not have any regrets or FOMO, as we call it,
exactly.
about saying no. And also I want like things that you didn't even know were a thing, like mindsets and things that that this book brings it to the forefront, and you're able to deal with it and heal with it with God.
Yes,
I
that's
do
powerful.
plan on I have had a financial wellness retreat before, but I plan on doing another one specifically just for the book. It'll be called the Rightful Owner Retreat, where we dig deeper into it, and I'm there in person with you, the author of the book, actually going with you through the process, not just from what I've read or what I've learned, but from my life experience. I know what it looks like and what it feels like.
Yes. When will
So
the book release?
the book, there's a soft launch on October 10th.
Okay.
So definitely get the book. It'll be available anywhere you can get a digital book. I specifically want you to buy it from Amazon on October the 10th. And then if you're in Dallas, Texas, or if you, Miss Yolanda, you are definitely welcome to come to my lunch party that's going to be on October 26th here in Dallas, Texas. So we're gonna celebrate the physical copy being released, and it's going to be a special edition because it's going to have some stuff in it that the digital copy doesn't have in it. So definitely be a part of that as well.
Great. So how can people reach you?
So they can reach me through my social media platforms. So on majority of my social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, most of them, my handle is Kiameshea Prewitt. So if you just search Kiameshea Prewitt, you should be able to find me. We're also working on my brand website, which is kiamesheaprewitt.com. So soon you'll be able to hire me or to work with me through that. And then also you can email me at hello@towerabovefinance.com. And there's something else I wanted to say. I can't remember. But yeah, so that's how you can reach out to me. Oh, I was going to say that the way that I want to work with people is I want to team up with coaches, with business owners, to talk to either your your clientele or your employees on their relationship with wealth.
Yes.
That's how, like, I feel like that's how I can benefit people the most. I can work with people one-on-one, but I feel like I get the most impact and people get the most out of me because when I'm in a room teaching, it pulls on me. And I feel like that's how I want to partner with people. And that's actually something that's coming up. I have 2 events coming up. I am the stewardship trainer for the Assigned Experience. And this is a really unique gathering. It's not a conference. It's literally a basic count training for kingdom entrepreneurs, specifically women Christian or kingdom entrepreneurs, where we're dealing with a business owner that's behind the business. Because we prosper when our soul prospers. Exactly. And so we're dealing with your mindset. We're dealing with making sure that you understand how to build partnerships and to understand your kingdom citizenship, relationship, that you have healthy relationships. There is going to be a part where we work with your business, but I don't know a lot of people that I feel like everybody's saying like, hey, we do this thing or copy what I did to, make your millions. But the kingdom way is to deal with the person. You deal with you first. And then your business will prosper. So the kingdom, the Assigned Experience registration actually closes in 2 days. So if you reach out to me, I may be able to give you a special deal on it. But you can sign up for that at theassigned.com. It's going to happen on November 7th through the 9th in Atlanta, Georgia. And then I was chosen to present on the financial fraudulent syndrome at the AFCPE Symposium in Ohio. And that's also in November.
Great.
So those are my 2 things that I have coming up so far.
Great. So mindset is key. And so I'm glad a lot of times people do deal with the business, which is good. But I've just learned over the years when working with clients, when I first meet a client, I typically have to do that personal coaching mindset shift stuff before we even get to the business stuff. So when that entrepreneur is whole and their mind is right and their spirit is right, you see more healthier businesses. So glad to hear that you guys are doing that. Thank you, KP, for joining me today on Conversations with Yolanda. I look forward to just hearing the testimonies of those that listen to this podcast or watch the podcast just to see what they've received from it. And so I look forward to seeing many more awesome things that you're doing in your purpose and in the space that God has put you in. So thank you for joining me today. And I look forward to continuing to watch how God is using you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Dr. Yolanda.
You're welcome.
This connection is over 20 years.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I wanted to have it, because I love watching, whether it's you and Shay and others that I've known for years, young entrepreneurs that are out there doing it and understand that kingdom piece of it, because that's how we survive in this entrepreneurship journey. So thanks for joining me today.
Yes, my pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.